Hey guys. So we are on episode 3 of Nerdspresso, and we are just getting started on the fun train. And I am so excited for you to listen to today's episode. My guest is Chelsea Steverson, and she is best known as the Little Red Dot. And she is a wonderful, wonderful human that I am so happy that I got to sit down and talk to. I found out that we are so similar in a lot of ways. We have a lot of the same likes and dislikes, and so that made it really fun to get to know her over the course of this episode. And it's a high energy episode. I hope you're ready for it because we just jump back and forth from topic to topic, and we talk about a lot of fun and interesting things. We talk about how she came about getting the moniker Little Red Dot, and we talk about our love of theater and what the struggles we find in our lives as actors, but also we talk about our thoughts on method acting, and we kind of get into the ridiculous body standards that Hollywood has for for the males in our society. And we just kind of talk about a lot of different things, and I'm so excited to share this with you. So grab your cup of coffee because you're gonna need some energy because we just zoom all about, and I hope you're ready for it because this has been one of my favorite interviews that I've done so far. It's super fun. So sit back, relax, drink your drink of choice, and let's have some fun. This episode is sponsored by Smuggler's Coffee. Smuggler's believes in drinking local. That's why they find barrels from some of the best breweries in their area. Barrel aging adds the flavors that were trapped in the barrel to the beans without any trace of the alcohol. It's a unique bean that makes an amazing cup of coffee in the morning, or that perfect after dinner dessert coffee if you're like me and you need a good cup of coffee after a big meal. They have fun and crazy artwork gracing their packaging with themes from D&D, Star Wars, music, and more. Whether you like sugar and cream in your coffee, a little Irish jig in your mug, or you like to drink your coffee as black as your soul, they have got the perfect cup of coffee for you. Head over to store.smugglerscoffee.com to find your perfect brew of coffee today. Alright, so we're relaxed and in our chairs with our coffee and all of the things. So how are you?
I'm good. I say, I'm good. I'm busy.
Good. Busy is good.
Busy is good, exactly. Yeah.
But not too busy.
I think that depends on the week. It's funny, I started out 2020 pretty low key, and then it's really geared up pretty quickly. So,
but that's good.
It is, but it's good. You know, it's like I'm the kind of person where if I'm not busy, I'm miserable.
I'm that way too, and that's one of the. It's like, oh, I need a creative outlet. Let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not add one more table topic to your schedule?
Right? Yeah. So it's not like I'm working 12 hours a day on a production right now.
Oh,
it's
don't
fine.
I know. Yeah.
So I love how you mentioned Batwoman a little earlier because we're sitting in my little studio area, surrounded by all of the
Batwoman stuff. It's fabulous.
Batgirl, Batwoman, all of the things. And you are here with your adorable flaming red hair.
Yes.
Which is that kind of where the nickname came from?
So actually, it's not. The story behind Little Red Dot is way more existential than that.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, because we just kind of jumped into this, I'm sitting here with Chelsea Stevenson.
Yep.
Little Red Dot.
Yep. Hey, guys.
As we talk about your name and your nickname and all of that, I guess it's important to introduce you.
Yeah. So, the Little Red Dot name actually came from, like, an existential crisis. So, after I was in college, and, as all good art school students are wont to do, there were high levels of psychedelics involved. But what I'll say is I was at a friend's house, and there was that giant map. We've all seen it, of the like Milky Way galaxy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's got that little dot and the arrow that points and it says, "You are here." And I remember seeing it and having this full-on meltdown of understanding, like, my insignificance in the world.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was at this point in my life where I didn't know why I was making and creating. I was going to be an actor, but I wasn't really happy with the theater process, and I couldn't figure out why. And so I was just in this, like, really torn up place. And so I started making a lot of different things. I started doing some performance art. I started painting again. And so I was doing all this digging. And it really came from this existential crisis, staring at a little red dot on the Milky Way galaxy.
Oh my
gosh. Said, "You are here."
You are the little red dot.
I am the little... We all are.
We all are a little red dot.
And that's actually part of why I built my Twitch channel and my Discord community the way I did, is that we're all dots. It's this idea of, like, we're all these tiny dots, but together we're so much more than that.
Yes. I love that so much.
Yeah. So everybody asks, but then of course red is my favorite color. So then you get the red hair. I've always been a ginger. Obviously not naturally this vibrant. But
I was about to say, for those who don't know, I have like ginger-ish red hair, but you have like fire truck, flaming awesome red hair. Yeah. That is about the color of your D&D coffee mug right now.
Most it's extra. I'm extra.
We're all extra. So if anyone knows me, or for anyone new listening, they're gonna learn I'm very extra. So, but no, I love, and I feel like as I'm also gonna get to know you over this episode, you're already talking about things that I do a lot of that too. Like, I'm a theater kid, and I paint. I have this like I started a painting, and that's about as far as I got before I got distracted into something else.
Yeah, which means you're an artist at heart.
Exactly. But you know, I love art. Art is my life, and I have this need to create at every day, and I was at a point where I had finished. I did Shrek the Musical last year at a theater. Loved it. It was amazing.
That's great.
And then was like, okay, I need something else.
Yeah, what do I do?
And here we are. I started a podcast.
Yep, awesome.
But I'm getting ready to do Addams Family.
Oh, cool.
So I'm super pumped about that. I'm really excited to get back into theater, like, more, because I too am an actor. That's why I went to school. I'm a theater major.
Yeah. Hey, my first degree was in theater. I mean, I was a performing artist,
My parents told me that if I wanted to pursue acting seriously, I had to at least get 2 years done, and I did. So I have an associate's in theater.
Heck yeah.
And then I was like, bye school.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in this really, really small town in Georgia, like T-minus 5,000 in a single red light kind of a thing. And so,
But in Texas.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in this little town, and, you know, Georgia is already, 49th in the country for, like, per capita for arts funding. So then you just cut that down even more, the smaller town that you go to, meaning that they just don't have the resources to have proper arts
Which is
programming.
really ironic that it turned out to be one of the bigger places for film.
Yes, yeah, that
It's
Georgia
totally
has turned
ironic.
to that. And so when I kind of found it, you know, as most kids, we start in like choir, and then we do a lot of church plays in the South, and that's how a lot of
church choir,
you know, you do the pageant show on Easter, and so that's actually how I found art. Even though I would not declare myself a religious dot, I do look at that as a time where that was really the only way that I was getting the arts, and so by the time I turned 18, it's a bit of a hellraiser. By the time I turned 18, I was like, I have to get out of this town, and I was actually going to be an engineer. I was going to design car engines.
Wow.
Long before, so I was going to go to Georgia Tech, and I was going to design car engines, because everybody in my family is engineers, and I was going to carry on the lineage.
And Georgia Tech is the place to go.
And Georgia Tech's the place to go in the state, and then I had a change of heart after I did my first Shakespeare play in high school.
I did Shakespeare in high school, too!
Yeah.
Which one did you do?
Okay, so we started out with Midsummer, which is pretty normal high school.
We started with 12th Night.
12, okay, great.
And I just went and saw it at the Shakespeare Tavern.
Oh, nice!
And it was so good.
Yeah. So we actually came up in high school. The first time I saw something at the Shakespeare Tavern, when I was in high school, we had come up, the whole group of Midsummer had come up, and actually we went and saw, they were doing Midsummer, we went and saw it, and it just, there was something about Shakespeare that really spoke to me, even as a small town girl.
I love Shakespeare.
Yeah,
I have Shakespeare books just over here. I watch Shakespeare plays and movies, like renditions, religiously.
Yeah.
Like, I can get on like a 6 a.m. flight and watch I watched the Hollow Crown series.
Yes.
And was just like, my mom's like, how do you not fall asleep? And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm
I
so
love
into this,
Yeah,
it's not even funny.
So, and that's what, when I decided to go to school, so
Mm-hmm.
when I changed my trajectory and went to SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design,
Mm-hmm.
I did my 4 years. I spent all my 4 years studying classical theater and working for Shakespeare companies across the U.S.
Love that.
So that's what I did when I kind of first came out of the gate. And then I got to my senior year, and I had no prospects, as all actors find at some point in their life, and I had a full panic. I applied to the Peace Corps, because I had no prospects. And then actually a theater here in Atlanta asked me to come up for an internship at
that's
Express.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
So I came up, and that's actually what brought me to Atlanta, and my plan was to only be here a year. And here I am, working on year number 8.
Hey!
So clearly the city
Life is
spoke
funny
to
like
me,
that.
right? Yeah, the city really spoke to me. And yeah.
And then now here you are, you do marketing for Dad's Garage.
I do.
Which is an improv theater.
It is.
One of the coolest improv theaters I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's definitely. I remember even when I first moved to Atlanta, long before I worked for long before I worked for Dad's Garage, and I was just a wee baby intern before I even got my graduate degree.
Yeah.
I used to go to Dad's Garage. I was like a huge fan. I always thought they were so cool. Like, here are all these hip, cool people, and they're really funny, and they're doing nerdy stuff, and
they're doing the things I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing the things I want to do, and I was struggling even for the first 4 years here in Atlanta, just really accepting. I had an agent. I was doing film and TV, and I was just miserable, and so I did a lot of soul hunting to kind of figure out why, and I think what it really came down to was this lack of autonomy. I feel like sometimes the actor has in theater, right?
Yeah.
I spent all this money, all this time in college to learn how to be a great actor, all these skills, all these tools, all of this stuff, and then you get into the real world, and it's really just like, here's your script, stand here, say the lines, wear what we tell you, and I felt like I was just...
And if you suck, then we could just fire you and replace you with this person right over here.
Or, it was
who hasn't worked for their own.
Right, yeah. And so talent actually became this kind of very secondary thing to so much of the business and the industry. Like walking into a film audition and every person in the room looks like you. Yeah. There's like 10 of you, and you're like, whoa. But I'm just part of a business. I'm just a commodity. And so I actually took a major step back from doing theater for a while. I really got back into the arts. I helped start a company here in Atlanta called Catalyst Arts Atlanta that's still making theater for a while. Trying to just do it differently, right? Like change the way that we think about the theater process, which regardless of what theater you look at, from, say the biggest ones all the way down to these small community theaters, it's a cookie cutter process. Yeah. Right? 4 weeks of rehearsal, 4 weeks of performances, and everything kind of feels the same. And no matter what you do, you're still keeping the audience at bay. You're asking them to watch, and you're not asking them to participate. Right. So it's kind of a funny story. My Twitch channel started out as a cosplay channel, because I was always a cosplayer. I went to Dragon Con every year, and so that was kind of the trajectory. As I started out there, and then I had some friends here locally who were like, "You want to put a mic in front of us and play some D&D?" So we started how you're all like, it's going to be a hobby podcast.
That sounds so familiar of the story of before.
Yeah, precisely. So that's exactly what it was. It was like, we're just going to be some friends putting out a mic, and then here we are, North by Northwest 3 years later, almost 3 years later. February is our anniversary, and so, and that's kind of how I got started. And then a friend invited me over to the Encounter Roleplay Network. This was like 2.5 years ago.
I love Encounter Roleplay. I played with them for a hot second, and then Shrek happened, and I had to step away. So I spent a couple seasons over there with them, like GMing and playing, and I actually joined their viewer game, which is how I got started. A friend was like, "Hey, I'm gonna play some D&D. You wanna play some D&D with me on this like random Thursday afternoon?" And I fell in love for the first time in a long time. I felt like the skills I had as an actor were being used. I felt like something that I love, tabletop gaming, because I've been playing D&D for like 13 or 14 years at this point. All of it just kind of clicked, and it clicked in this way that I could never have imagined. And so I felt like I was creating again. I was doing it within the realm of what I knew, what I understood, and at the core of everything I was doing was being a storyteller, which is what I love to. That's what I do. I'm a storyteller. So that's kind of like the trajectory. I started out as actor Chelsea and turned into Twitch Dot. Yes, love that. We have
I totally feel you. Because when you find, especially that one D&D game that's just near and dear to your soul that you just feel like you're so immersed in. We play a Star Wars RPG game here, and it's run by Logan, Patrick Logan, who plays on D4. He's our GM, and if you think he's great on D4, he is the craziest and most amazing world builder. He has so many sub-levels of, like, side quests to the main quest, and everything is connected, and it's insane. But we will sit here, and I play with a lot of like, intense, hardcore Star Wars nerds.
Okay, great.
Who are, like, way into the lore.
Right.
We play KOTOR era.
Okay.
So it's a really fun, unexplored time, which it makes me just want more KOTOR. But everyone is so, even if they're not actors, everyone is so immersed and true to their characters because they love the world so much that we can sit at the table in our kitchen for 7 hours, and we literally feel like we're battling on Mandalore for all the stuff and the things. And
that's what a great story can do.
Yes, and you're so, and you don't feel like if you have to get up to go get a snack or get a drink or something, you don't feel like you're breaking the immersion because it's so much is happening. It's so intense and captivating.
Yep.
And I have to give a lot of props to Logan for that because he has created such a wonderful world for us to play in that it really helps us stay immersed.
And I think that, that actually hits on something that I tell people a lot of times, especially people that are like, I want to be a GM, what should I know? And I'm like, well, know that this is not your story.
Yeah.
This is not your story.
Yes.
It is not your job.
You give the outline.
Yeah, you're a facilitator.
Yeah.
Your job is to facilitate joy and immersion through the process for the other people at the table telling the story.
Yes.
And then when you can find that, like, equal collaboration at the table is when you can just thrive and things really click. Yeah. That's actually happening right now. I'm running a Coriolis campaign over on the Unmade Gaming Network.
Okay.
Mike with Unmade Gaming is a really good friend. And he came to me and he said, hey, I want to run something dark on my channel. I was like, well, hey, I've been reading this book called Coriolis, which is like a dark sci-fi.
Love.
It's made by Free League, and the designers call it Arabian Nights in Space.
Ooh.
Doesn't that sell you, like, instantly?
Yes.
You're like, I'm sold.
Oh,
I get the vibe. It's kind of this, like, low sci-fi kind of dark theme, and with all just it's really rich lore in it. And it's actually one of the first RPG books that I've read, and I was like, I don't need to make up anything. I want everything in my campaign to come from this book.
I need everything.
It's just so beautiful. But it's happening. It's, sometimes you just have campaigns. You run, you tell a story, it's kind of light and it's airy, but the players and myself, just together at the table, there's this level of chemistry that's happening where the immersion is so deep.
Yes.
And it's just hooked us all where at the 2-hour mark, they're like, but can we keep playing?
Yes. But that also, because y'all stream that, right?
Yes.
So that's one of those things that also helps make it captivating for your audience who's watching, is if your players are just like, oh my god, and your storytelling is great, and everyone can be immersed.
Yes.
Even your audience, because they're so focused on you guys being immersed. That's great storytelling.
Yeah, it's great storytelling, and it's just, and again, it's like, I can't credit myself for that, because all I'm doing is laying out a sandbox,
you're
right?
one piece of the puzzle.
Right, I'm a single, I'm the corners of the puzzle.
Yes.
And they're filling in all the pieces in the middle. And that, and when you as a GM can let go of that control.
Absolutely.
And stop and realize that, there is just this richness at the table that starts to happen. And when you can really trust one another at a table, it just really changes everything.
But that's one of those things, is there's so many elements to creating a game like that. It's not just having a great DM or just having great players, because if you have great players but you have a quote weaker DM, the chemistry is not the same. But if you have a great DM but weaker players that just want to hit things, it's not the same. So you have to have all these pieces of the puzzle to help make that magic happen.
Yeah, and I actually do a monthly stream where I talk about dungeon master stuff. Where we have new questions every week, and we talk about the process of DMing and what does it mean to be a DM. And so you can check me out over there doing that. So I won't go into my spiel about DMing, but for those of you at home that do want to, start DMing or want to be a quote unquote better, as much as I kind of hate that terminology, better DM, alleviate some of the stress from yourself and realize that it's not all on you to make it perfect. It really is the table in a fully collaborative way, and that's one of the beautiful things about tabletop.
Be happy when your players want to do something you didn't plan for.
Correct. Yeah, and accept it wholeheartedly.
Logan gets so excited when we're like, I want to do this, and he's like, okay, go for it.
Yeah, I love it when my players take risks because it's not something that I can plan for.
Right.
And you know what? This really just goes
you really can't try to plan for everything.
Right. But they're going to screw it up. They're going to screw it up.
Exactly. They're going to find that one thing you didn't plan for, and you have to be okay with just rolling with punches.
Like, you have to let go of something you're planning sometime and recognize, again, it's not your story.
Yes.
If you plan too much, what you're trying to do is have them tell your storyline.
Yes.
I call myself a sandbox GM because I'm very much like that, where I'm like, here's the world. All these things are happening and going on, and my players may never choose to interact with it, but it doesn't change the fact they're going on. It's just like any sandbox video game.
I have all these things laid out for you.
Yep. And
you can choose whichever one you want.
Yep. They may spend 3 episodes in a site, a bazaar on top of a space station somewhere, and I'm like, well, guess what? The space cultists over here just finished their ritual, so you guys missed it.
Yep.
And there's nothing I can, I want that level of realism where they recognize that the choices they make do actually have an impact.
Absolutely.
If you wait to give, if you tailor it to them and you wait because you really want them to do a thing, sometimes it actually loses a level of realism and actualization in how stories are told. Isn't it better for them to have to deal with the repercussions of something they missed than trying to force them into something they don't want to play?
Right. So
yeah, I think that really goes back to the
you can be like, piece. Hey, here's this little tidbit of this thing that's kind of important.
Right, seed it.
But, if you don't jump on that train, well,
we're taking another train. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can definitely miss it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dad's Garage earlier. I am the marketing director now for Dad's, and after I took my hiatus from theater, I was applying for a lot of other jobs. I was going to go into, a marketing firm or something and get that 9 to 5 day job. Mm-hmm. And this opportunity appeared, and I was really hesitant about going to work back in nonprofit because that was part of the reason I had just taken a step back. I was burned out, and this was kind of a dream come true because here I was again at a point where I realized that collaborative storytelling is really what I want to do. Yeah. And more than what I would say, Theater Dad's Garage is a place for collaborative storytelling. Yes. As an improv house, that's what they do. And so it was a bit of a shell shock, actually. It was a very long process to get the job. And it was, I was humbled, to say the least. I remember going in for the in-person interview, which was after having, written, you had to do the written portion, then I had to have a phone interview, and then once they had narrowed down, then they did in-person interviews. It took months for them.
They're hardcore.
It was hardcore, it was a very hardcore. And so every step, I just felt more and more honored to be a part of it. And I remember going in for my in-person interview and sitting around the table with most of these people that I did not know. I knew a couple, but and we just talked. Somebody was like, "Oh, is that a D20 tattoo on your wrist? I love playing D&D." And they were saying these things at the table. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like sitting with friends.
That's good.
And I left and sat in my car and I cried to my mother. I remember this in the Dad's Garage party. I cried. I was like, "Mom, if they don't hire me, I'm never gonna have another job this great." And I remember just sobbing and sobbing about it. She's like, "It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay." I was like, "This has to be the one. This has got to be it."
It went so well.
I was like, these people understand me. I don't have to explain the D20 tattoo on my wrist. When I say I'm a Twitch streamer, they were like, "That's cool and awesome." Yeah. So I think there's it was about finally finding a place to work that had the internal culture that I was looking for and was creating the kind of stories, not theater, because that's just an umbrella term. Creating the kind of stories that I wanted to be a part of, that I wanted to be able to market, that I wanted to be able to tell. So
everything I've seen at Dad's, whether it's improv D&D, which in itself is bold and hysterical, and it's it's nothing you've ever experienced.
It's funny. I tell them, I was like, you don't understand how refreshing it is to have a job where I'm doing social media and I can make, say, a joke, a tabletop joke, and my audience gets it. Right. It's not even my Twitter, which, sure, for my Twitch channel, that's the brand, right? But, this is somebody else's Facebook, and I can make a Nat 20 joke or a critical success joke, and they get it.
Yes.
It's
on brand.
Yeah, it's totally on brand.
It's totally on brand.
Totally on brand, yeah.
But, you got Improv D&D, which is coming back.
It is coming
here.
back. Actually, next, I don't know when this will release, but that would be, we open February 9th.
Okay, and you run, it's all through February, right?
Yeah, we'll run for multiple weeks. So I think we have 8 or 9 weeks. Friday nights, 8 p.m.
So the wonderful Mark Muir is coming back to DM, which is, again, an experience.
Oh gosh, Mark.
He's so good.
Yep, he's amazing.
And it's always a pleasure to have him back in town.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then the show that I actually met you at was Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Which is an improv show about Dragon Con.
Yeah, it's actually kind of the staple in Dad's history. So Dragon Con was, Wrath of Khan, the first one, C-O-N, for those of you at home, Wrath of Khan, was written back in 2012 when Dragon Con was kind of at its peak here in Atlanta. And because of all the nerds that worked at Dad's, and you have to understand the way Dad's Garage functions, we do scripted shows, but we write all our own. Everything's written internal. We don't take somebody else's work and put it up on a stage like most theaters do.
Okay.
Everything's written internally by the
That's
ensemble.
really cool.
So a bunch of the ensemble members came together, these people that were always going to Dragon Con, loved it, like I said, at its peak in 2012. And so they wrote a show about the existence and experience of what they call going to the con. And it was wonderful. So after massive success and a remount, which we did this past year, they decided to write Wrath of Con 2 into Dorkness, which was like this follow-up.
Yes.
And so the second Wrath of Con.
So good.
Yeah, and it was a really great, because, you know, for those of you that were young when you went to cons, and then we all age and get really older, right? Like, I was the girl who was always at the 2 a.m. rave, in the front, with my cat ears on, like, turned the hell up, right? Okay?
Yes!
But now here I am, 30, and now I'm lucky to make it to 11 p.m. because my body aches and I'm tired, and everything's kind of changed and shifted, you know?
See, and I'm only... I started at Dragon Con in 2016.
Okay.
That was my first Dragon Con.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because I was one of those, I'm like, I want to go to a con, I want to cosplay.
Right.
But then I never really had the boldness and all that to do it. But then when I met Dustin, and he was all like, nerd!
Own it! Yeah, own
and
yourself.
I was just like, well... and he was like, my kids cosplay, and everyone cosplays, and I have all these friends that cosplay, and cosplay, and conventions.
I mean, like you said, that's how
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Do you remember your first cosplay?
Yes, I did Miss Martian.
Oh, that's great.
And
I did a Rosie the Riveter cosplay.
Yeah, and it was one of those things, Dustin is friends with so many, like, big-time cosplayers.
Mm-hmm.
Margie Cox,
mm-hmm.
Her husband Ned, Tall Squall.
Yeah, Tall.
Who has the most amazing vision cosplay
I've
never seen him
ever. But Tall's also, you want to talk about a great human being?
Oh my god, he's
Such
so
a
wonderful.
Human, yeah.
He is so wonderful. I love Tall Squall.
Just,
like,
pure,
with all my heart.
Pure soul.
Yes. But, like, Dustin is known himself for his Iceman, where he literally covered himself in, like, ice. And he has, like, 3 different versions. It's hardcore. It's the best Iceman cosplay I've ever seen. And so I'm like, I can't look shabby as my first cosplay next to any of you. So, we found me a really good Miss Martian costume. Dustin did my makeup for it, so I wasn't just, like, grease makeup.
Right,
green.
yeah.
I was airbrushed.
Yeah.
I had a good lace front wig.
Yep.
And that was my first convention was Heroes Con up in Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte, yeah.
So it was nice and small. The kids went with us. We did a little mini Teen Titans group. Dustin was Beast Boy, but he was Changeling Beast Boy from George Perez.
Yep.
And so he did that. So he was green as well. But then the kids, Wyatt was Robin, and Piper was Raven. And Piper totally got into character. And in all the pictures, she's like, Raven does not smile. And it was like, oh,
wow.
Like, and the kids were 6 and 7 at the time. So the fact that his kids are just like in character
constantly,
and like she's watching My Hero Academia right now, and she's just like, I want to do Deku and Todoroki, and I want to cosplay all these people.
Cute.
And she goes, I want a color contact in this eye, and I want wigs and all that. And I'm like, you're 11.
You're my hero.
Yes.
I love it.
But it's been watching their cosplay evolution of when she did Raven, she didn't want to wear the wig, but she wore everything else.
But now she is getting into the wigs. If you look behind you, there's, I don't know if you do Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
But that mask right there, she was Mangle for Halloween.
Oh my god, that's so cute!
And she made that herself. Like, it was a werewolf mask from Spirit Halloween that we stripped. And,
wow.
like, she painted it. They totally retrofitted it.
She even put foam on the inside.
Yeah.
How cute!
Yes, and she had a cute little skirt, and she had little fuzzy paws and everything. But she had the wig and everything, and she was Mangle for Halloween. And they were Iron Spider and Spider Gwen at DragonCon this year. They stayed in those masks for 2 hours because they didn't want to break character.
Wow.
Like, what?
right. My kids are outdoing me. I love it. I love it.
Oh man, it's so fun to be part of a nerdy family.
Yeah, I guess for sure. You know, and it's yeah. Love that. That's so cute.
So let's. We've kind of touched on coffee and things, but
yeah,
and your D&D mug.
Yes,
my color changing Batman mug, which has not kind of went back to its beginning form.
Oh, I didn't know it was color changing.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like, you know, sometimes like when you put stuff in the dishwasher, like the thing rubs off.
I realize that happened too.
Oh, okay.
That happened too. But the other side.
That's so cool. It is color changing.
The sky turns red, and Batman goes from shadowy Batman to regular Batman.
Interactive coffee mug.
Yes. But we are drinking. I didn't bring the coffee in here with me.
It was +1 charisma.
+1 to charisma from Smuggler's Coffee.
It's very tasty.
It's so good.
I feel like my charisma is in fact at +1. Hopefully all of you at home feel the same way.
But it's a lighter roast, which I picked for you because you said you liked the lighter roast.
I do like a light roast. Light roast, for all of you at home that don't know, most people feel like a darker roast actually gives more caffeine. That is incorrect. A lighter roast actually has more caffeine than a darker roast.
Love that.
Yes.
Coffee tidbits.
Yeah, tidbits from Dot.
Yes.
If there's one thing Dot knows, it is coffee.
Yes. And I love having the coffee aspect on the podcast because we get to highlight so many awesome companies that are that they make coffee and tea, but they're also like nerd based.
Yes.
And they feature artists, and they
it's tasty.
It's so good. Everything I've had so far has been so good.
So tasty. Yeah.
I haven't found anything I don't like so far.
One of my big there is no scientific fact behind any of this when it comes to coffee. There's not. This is just Dot facts. Dot facts say the color of your coffee is really important. Like, I do like a little bit of creamer in my coffee.
Same.
And one of my favorite things is to plop the creamer in, and when you watch the color of the coffee change, you just know whether or not it's going to be a good coffee.
Yeah.
And like when
I love watching the creamer
swirl, and then it like blends in, and sometimes it just looks like even in a light roast, can be a very rich color.
Yes.
And this one,
but it also, it tastes, it's a rich light, and even with creamer and a little bit of sugar in it, you can still taste the richness of it. But it's very smooth as well.
Yes.
So, I don't know if we said it, but we said it was the +1 to charisma, but it's from Smuggler's Coffee.
Yeah, from Smuggler. So go check it out.
Yeah. They are awesome. They have some really cool, their artwork on their bags is really cool.
Oh, neat.
It's really like animated and fun, artwork, and very colorful. They have stuff that's D&D. They have stuff, there's one that's like horror related.
Oh, cool.
There's a Star Wars one called A Brew Hope. They have
I almost spat my coffee. That was very funny.
So they have a lot of different like options, and
oh my gosh, what a fun little like gift for somebody! Just like a pack of like nerd coffee bags.
Yes.
For all of you at home, if you want to get Dot anything,
get Dot all the
coffee.
Yes. So, but no, Smugglers is really, really good.
It is very tasty. Yeah.
And I've heard, like, before they came on as sponsors, I had heard really good things about them as well. So, and they're really nice. They actually, their big thing, in addition to all of the nerdy stuff, is they barrel age their coffee with barrels from breweries.
Oh,
so you get the barrel aging taste without the alcohol in it.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
I got coffee goosebumps. So that's amazing.
Yeah, like everyone that I've like been able to get involved with has a little no two coffee companies are the same. They all have their own special little thing that I love, and I am so excited to highlight. And this this should be the first Smugglers that that I've gotten to drink on the podcast.
Oh, perfect.
So,
I'm glad it was with me, because it's very good.
It's so good. And when you were like, I like a light roast, I was like, ooh, I know exactly what coffee I'm going to give you. So, and if you like it, you can take it home.
Oh.
So I will give you that.
I mean, if you're offering,
yes.
I will definitely take it home.
Yes, you can definitely have it.
And you know what, for all of you, you can go scour. I'll plan to take a photo with the bag so you can see the artwork.
Oh, yes, we'll need to do that.
Yeah, you can go scour, I don't know, probably my Twitter or my Instagram, wherever I feel saucy enough to post it, if you want to see it with your own eyes.
You can post it on yours, I'll post it on mine, I'll post it on the podcast, Twitter, I'll post it on the Patreon, I'll post it everywhere.
It'll be a photo of Dot with coffee will be everywhere for you to see.
Yes.
This episode is sponsored by Found Familiar. Found Familiar is a company that not only brings you amazing coffee, but believes in supporting creators. They team up with different artists and cosplayers from around the world to bring you specialty-grade coffee that celebrates the creativity sparked by Dungeons & Dragons and other TTRPGs. Found Familiar aims to do more than just provide caffeine for your groggy mornings and late-night sessions. They believe in using their platform to recognize the people that share those same passions. People that create stories, create characters, and create art. They showcase fantasy artwork and photos on their coffee, and that's why you will never see those pieces anywhere without credit to the creators. So head over to foundfamiliar.com and use code Nerdspresso, NERDSPRESSO, for 10% off your coffee order today. This episode is sponsored by Dryad Tea. Dryad Tea was created February 2012 by a tea aficionado who also loves music. The first line of teas was created based on Pandora Celtica's music, characters, and world. Since then, they have created amazing tea blends inspired by music, mythology, literature, and just general geekery. In 2013, they added Dryad pottery, and Ruby has been creating amazing works of ceramic art to pair with the blends of Dryad tea. You can join their Tea of the Month Club, get a custom tea blend made, or you can shop the Goblin Market for tea infusers, enamel pins, and music. So head over to dryadtea.com and use code NERDSPRESSO, that's NERDSPRESSO, for 10% off your order today.
So, the red hair and all of the wonderful things hanging in my room here, for those who don't know. Well, no, they kind of do know, because Brianna made a joke about it in her episode. I am a huge Batgirl fan.
Yes.
So I am Babs, which, ironically, sitting here with your fire truck red hair and my ginger red hair, it's very fitting. You mentioned Batwoman earlier.
Yeah. So I'm just a Bat fan, period.
Yes.
Like the Bat world.
Yes, absolutely.
It was my first introduction to comic books.
Yes.
When you grow up in a small town, there's really nowhere to buy them. And the only place I could get comic books, there was a small barber shop. My father was in the military, so every Sunday when he wasn't on the base, was haircut time. He had to keep it, hair off his ears. Right. So I would go with him to the barber shop because Mr. Larry, the man that ran it, would always give me bubble gum, and he had a rack of comic books.
Love that.
And he had Batman and X-Men.
Oh.
So those were my first dives in, right?
Yes.
But and of course I became obsessed with Batman, and then as you get older, you dive deeper, you find ways to get your things online. I remember, I'm older, so there wasn't always an Amazon, there wasn't always ways to get things online for those, for all of you at home. You would have to go, I remember when eBay first started becoming a thing.
Ooh, yeah.
And this was also about the time that they launched PayPal as a means of making it happen, and I remember ordering two things. My first two purchases off eBay was Hero Clicks. For those of you at home that like Hero Clicks, I ordered a shoebox full of 300 Hero Clicks.
Oh my gosh!
For
we have a tackle box of just Hero Clicks.
I've got a box full of them.
Look, I've got Batgirl and Huntress just right here.
I've got the Huntress one. I have that one. Yes. Oh, yes.
But anything Babs I can find.
So it was Hero Clicks, and it was Frank Miller's Dark Knight. Was the next one that I ordered.
Good.
And it was a used copy, and it just launched me deep into the Bat love. But right now, the Batwoman show, there's a Batwoman show on that DC's producing.
Right.
And I'm obsessed. I have to
it's so good.
Obsessed.
It's so good. It's very interesting, like, how they've brought her in and, like, the time period in Gotham where they brought her in. I mentioned this earlier. I love Rachel Skarsten, who was in Birds of Prey.
Yes.
Like, I watched Birds of Prey, and I bought the DVD and everything, and I'm like, this is so 2003.
Yes.
It's not even funny,
it's
but I
so
love it.
dated. Yeah.
And Birds of Prey, it's one of those, it had so much potential.
It did.
But I don't think it had the right direction.
I tell people this all the time. I believe that we're just now getting to a point in our entertainment where we can actually properly make shows about women.
Yes.
Right? Back in 2003, we just weren't as woke. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
We just weren't as woke. And so when you're making a show that is so deeply, the lore is so deeply embedded in being female.
Exactly.
And being a woman. I mean, if you go back and look at Birds of Prey, how many women actually worked on that show other than the 3 actresses? Like, were this the director woman? Were the writers women? And so it makes a difference. No offense to all of you that identify as male. No problem. But it's important to have that representation in the people that are writing, creating, and making it. And so I think it's one of the reasons why I really love Batwoman. And you're right. It just, it needed something. It just wasn't quite, it didn't quite click for Birds of Prey.
But, everything in 2003 was kind of, and Birds of Prey, even though it was a comic series, it still fell into this category of, especially all of the female-centric stuff, fell into a very cookie-cutter.
Yes.
You had, like, Dawson's Creek, and you had all of those type things back
everything
then.
that CW was making at the time.
Except for Smallville.
Smallville
was way better written.
Yes, it was. Smallville was,
but it was
super.
Also...
it's funny. So I didn't watch Smallville when it was actually on TV. I'm just now going back of the CW app and watching Smallville. And I have to say, of all the Lex Luthers that are out there, Smallville is
Michael
amazing.
Rosenbaum. So if Michael Rosenbaum's listening to this, he has a podcast.
He does. It's one of my favorite podcasts.
It's one of my favorite too.
So
and that's honestly, he kind of inspired this one.
Really?
Yes, because he's like, I'm an actor, but I just want to like sit down, and it's so raw and real.
Yes,
but it's chill.
It's called Inside You.
Inside of You.
Inside of You. That's
Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
With Michael Rosenbaum. It's so great.
I got to meet him at Dragon Con two years ago, and I literally walked up to him, and I was dressed as Batgirl.
It's awesome.
I was just like, it's my dream to be on your podcast one day, to do something that will get me on your podcast. Yeah. So maybe, because we're doing...
Michael, if you're listening to this podcast, here's an ask us about
Yes.
We'll drink plus one charisma and make sure it's really good. I promise.
No, but because, Michael was Lex Luthor.
Yes.
And he was also the voice of the Flash.
Yes,
in all of the Bruce Timm Justice League series and stuff. And so I'm kind of like, well, maybe if we can get him on the podcast. Because he's a big horror fan, too.
Yes, he is. He actually talked about, I don't remember who he was interviewing, but he talked about his love of horror in one of his episodes, which was very good. He just talks about, like, his connection with horror and why he likes it.
And how he has very strong feelings about the horror genre in general.
Yes.
And he has high standards.
He does have high standards. Well, so we all should. Let's be real. There's some really garbage horror movies out there.
But horror is one of those genres that everyone's just like, if I can do anything, I can just... Yeah. We can just kill people.
Yeah, we just kill people. We just need some blood, a couple splatters, and a screaming woman, right? That's all that it takes. And that's just not true.
No.
It's just not true.
But before we sat down, Dustin gave us these water bottles that say the seal of the city of Gotham, and these are like prop waters from Black Lightning, because he works on Black Lightning. But this is Black Lightning post-crisis.
Yes.
So everything's connected now. So we have Batwoman official, technically, water bottles.
Yep.
That'll now be displayed in our nerd rooms.
I have to be honest. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm terribly behind on the like CW superhero watching. Right now, Batwoman is about the only thing I'm caught up on. I got behind on Arrow and Flash, so I've actually not properly watched. I've watched pieces of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but I haven't watched the whole thing because I feel like I'm just so behind that I'm gonna miss something of the work.
So this season, on all of the shows, everyone is literally just gearing up for Crisis, and then Crisis basically stands on its own.
Okay, so somebody said that. Okay.
You really could just go watch Crisis by itself, and the only thing that will that is affected is everything afterwards.
Got it. I will say I did watch where. Okay, spoiler alert. This is spoilers. So if you haven't watched Crisis and you don't want spoilers, this is
mute
the time
us
to
for a
mute
second.
where in Crisis they go to Smallville and they actually see him,
Oh,
and he's wearing
so good.
he's wearing the ring, and it's just like that moment where he chose to just be Clark. Just be Clark. Like, that's what he wanted. And they were like, but if you don't, your world's gonna die. And he's like, I'm content with that. This is the life. Like, it was such a poignant moment.
But what I love is they actually brought Smallville writers back to write that scene.
Correct.
So that it felt like an appropriate ending for his
and I know there were a lot of people that have said a lot of negative things. Like, we really wanted to see him in a suit. We've waited since Smallville.
Okay, so
he hates it.
Yes. So Tom Welling has always said that he will never, ever put on a suit.
That was part of his contract when he signed on for Smallville, was that he refused to fly. Mm-hmm. Which they did they did 1 or 2 flights, and he refused to wear a suit.
But it was like season 10.
Way deep into it,
And the scene that you see him in the suit at the end of Smallville, that is actually CGI'd on.
Correct. He would not wear it.
He will not wear it because he's very superstitious about the widgety stuff around.
Hey, I mean,
Superman
it's something. There's something to it. I mean, think about how many horrible Superman things that have been created and made. It's funny. I'm actually watching. I also never watched Lois and Clark.
I never watched that one.
So I've been going back and actually watching Lois and Clark.
Gosh, really?
And there are definitely some really cute things. Like, I think this chemistry between Lois and Clark is definitely the charm of it, but there are just some really difficult things. Like, it definitely comes from another time.
Yes.
Like, she's saving herself for marriage. There's all these very interesting cliches and stereotypes around Lois in the show that I can't really get behind. Some interesting political choices.
Okay, let's address that for a second. But does Lois Lane seem like that kind of person that would actually
save herself? Well, so in Lois and Clark, that's her whole thing. Is like she's saving herself for Superman, and then she's saving herself for marriage. And of course, in Lois and Clark, if you haven't watched it, it's like almost at the end of the damn show before she finds out that he's actually Superman, and then they finally get married. There are all these things that always get in the way of their marriage. Something comes up, everybody comes from Krypton, and he has to answer and marry, like, the Kryptonian princess, and, like...
Don't we love how Superman is the last son of Krypton, but so many Kryptonians show up.
So many Kryptonians.
In every show.
There's always plenty of them, but he's, like, he's got to be the one. So there's just, like, some interesting things, and, like... Lois at one point does plan to marry Lex. Like, they actually get engaged at one point, and she's like, he's, of course, trying to push her to marry him, this kind of thing, and that's about the time that Lex in the show goes off and loses his damn mind, and things, turn, and it doesn't become about marrying her anymore, but it's more obsession than love, and, like, so there's a lot of things. Lois is definitely the damsel in distress type in the show, and she's definitely categorized in this, like, place of so
which is kind of annoying because Lois Lane has always been a very strong female.
Yes.
And she has her, like, obsession with Superman. Right. And she does dumb shit for him to save her, but she has never been a damsel in distress. No. Type of girl.
And it does, I mean, I would say that, it's funny, actually, she's a very interesting Lois. She is very strong-willed. She has a lot of opinions. It's what makes her a fantastic journalist.
And then Terry Hatcher.
It's Terry Hatcher, yeah.
We love Terry Hatcher.
And she's, okay, let's just talk about how beautiful she is in that show. Just, like, a 90s babe and a half. It's just, it was, like, going back now and being the bisexual, very strong woman that I am, I watch that show and I'm like, dear Lord, there are some political vibes in this that I just cannot, like, just very old school way of thinking, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I grew up watching Home Improvement.
Oh, God, another one.
And I went back and rewatched that, and I'm like, oh, some of this stuff makes me cringe, but there's a lot of stuff in it that was very, like, Jill pushes for a lot of equality stuff, she holds Tim to a standard.
Yeah.
And she calls him out on his shit.
Yep, totally. It's there are just some, like, as I'm going back and watching some shows that I really loved.
Yeah.
Or missed growing up because, again, I grew up in Podunk, Georgia.
Yeah.
I remember having a giant satellite dish out back, and we got what we could get. So we didn't always have access to everything, and at least not until much later in my life.
And then the age of the internet.
And then the age of the internet happened to
everything is accessible.
And you know what? I was telling somebody the other day. Do you remember that point of time where Netflix they would mail you DVDs? It wasn't always online.
Oh man,
it was.
We were, but you had to like wait for stuff. They didn't have everything.
They didn't always have everything. Yeah, so you would
you
for all
would
you
line
youngsters at home.
You would line up a queue of movies that you wanted.
They had basically a stock, and if the stock was out, and
it was like online Blockbuster.
Exactly, it was online Blockbuster, and they would mail it to you in this little red envelope. And then you would mail it back when you were done with it. That was my college years, because I remember having to get these discs in the mail. But yeah, that's so funny. Now everything's like streaming. I want it instant, and every channel has their own stinking app.
I know, right?
That you have to download and manage.
But like Disney Plus is so worth it.
So worth it.
It's so worth it.
Oh, I have a
Girl, okay, on the subject of theater, have you watched Encore?
No.
Okay. Chelsea, I need you. Okay, that's the one with Kristen Bell.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what it is it makes my little theater heart happy. So Kristen Bell produces this show where they go back and they find a school that did a musical production. It could be 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They even had a class from like 1975. And they bring them back and they have a week to prep and then they put the production on again.
Oh my god, I love that!
Yes! And it's so good and it shows why theater is, because some of these people haven't seen each other since high school and they all come back and like they have all these feelings of like, but I'm so sorry that you went through this in high school. I'm so sorry if I was mean to you in like everyone kind of like has.
Because let me tell you, once we get out of the toxic place that is high school, lives change. Like everybody's different than who.
And so everyone comes back and kind of has an opportunity to like remedy things, but then they come back and they find that collective love of theater, and they're like, I don't want this to end. Like, can we keep doing this show? And I'm just like, my theater heart loves it so much.
And stories change people's lives.
Yes.
Stories, I'm going to say it again, stories change people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons why I love to do it.
And they highlight a lot of those wonderful older theater shows. Like, Fiddler on the Roof. They did do Beauty and the Beast. They did Pippin. They did Anything Goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's got to be a Cole Porter in there somewhere.
What was the other one that I just, I don't remember. But there's so many. They did Brockwood High School from Snellville.
Oh.
So it's like, there's a local one there. And then they did one from Texas that was like the town that I lived in.
Oh, cool.
It wasn't my high school. And I'm like, all
over the place.
So close to home.
That's amazing.
But it's so good. And they bring in like a professional director and a professional choreographer and a professional music director, and they're like, okay, we have 5 days to do this.
Gear up, people.
Go! And some of them are like, okay, we can't dance.
I'm an old person now. Just a lawyer.
So, but the class of 1975 was the one that did Anything Goes. And so that was. They did the Godspell episode. Is really good.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, no, they did a lot of
interesting,
really cool shows that really highlight like what awesome theater is out there. And I'm like, I remember that show. I love that show.
That's cool.
Yeah. It makes me really sad that I never did a musical in high school. Because I went to a really small high school.
Me too. And we didn't do a lot of. We just didn't always have the money. And like I remember, oh my god, so this will tell you a lot.
We just did one act play.
We always did one act, and then we usually had one other like play throughout the year.
We didn't do that.
And then they tried to always mount a musical. The problem was we didn't always have the money, and growing up in a very small Baptist back Georgia town, I remember we wanted to do Man of La Mancha. And they were not having it because she's a whore.
Yeah.
Like, that's who she is.
But it's also interesting that stuff like that, they'll be like, let's do best little whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah, we love that one. It's wholesome. And it's
but what?
Okay.
What?
But yeah, so I remember they started it, and the music director of the local Baptist church, his daughter had auditioned. and she was cast in the part. It's Desdemona, right? No, what is her? No, it's not Desdemona. What is her name?
Oh no.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh,
Aldonza. Aldonza the whore. That's her name. And there's a song where they sing Aldonza the whore, and his daughter got cast, and he rioted. Like, got the whole church behind it. They came in, they shut the production down. We ended up having to do, I think what we ended up pulling together was like a review, a musical review. We wrote this show where basically a bunch of high schoolers were trying to decide what musical they wanted to do, and they were backstage, and everybody was pitching their ideas. So we did like songs from all different musicals, but like that's what we ended up doing that year because the local Baptist church shut us down because we were too risque with our La Mancha.
The town where I went to college I went to a little community theater, or a community college, and ironically, the town newspaper is called the Weatherford Democrat, but it's the opposite. And my first semester of college, we wanted to do company.
Oh, okay.
And because there was pot smoking, and stuff.
Some things.
They were the town was like, how about no? And we were like, so we did Once Upon a Mattress instead.
Oh, we did Hair when I was at SCAD.
Oh,
I remember we were in Savannah, so it's still a southern town, but there was a lot of pushback about them getting naked. So they were not allowed to get naked on stage, which is like, is it Hair if they don't drop trowel? Like, it's really not. Right. Like, at the end, the whole point is they free themselves. It's a visual representation of freeing yourself by losing your clothing. But, here's what you get for being with a bunch of hoity-toity arts people, because they also, all the actors in that show took it far too far. I remember they stopped showering.
Oh, God.
For weeks on end. They all stopped showing up to class because, of course, they were taking psychedelics, because what better way to be met than just screw your life up. And so it feels on that. So it got to a point where, like, audience members were coming in because they were doing it at Lucas in Savannah, which is kind of like Savannah's version of the Fox. Here. It's like a proper theater where they bring acts in, and once a year they give it to SCAD to do like a production.
Okay.
So it was like the big show that we were doing on the Lucas stage. So here you are, you're getting all these old folk, right? All these boomers, God bless you all, who are retired, who are like,
Savannah.
oh, Hair's gonna be fun. I remember when I lived through the 70s, and they show up, and you've got the actors coming up and down the aisles, and they smell like dirty hippies because none of them have bathed. So it became this whole thing where like the public was sending in reviews to the school that was like, you have to make these children bathe. Like, you've got to take these kids and tell them that method acting only goes so far.
Right. You said you had thoughts on method acting. Yeah. I have thoughts on method acting.
I have so many thoughts on method acting.
Like how Jared Leto was too method for the small role that he had in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it
was too much.
It was far too much.
Like, you weren't even in that movie that much.
But, you even look at somebody like, I think my biggest issue with method acting is it's not safe for anyone.
No.
And it can be. It can be if you know how to properly wield it as a tool, because that's what it is as an actor. Method acting is a tool, right?
It's not a lifestyle.
It's not a lifestyle.
It is a tool.
It's a tool. And so, unfortunately, like, even I look at somebody like Joaquin Phoenix, who did a fantastic job in the Joker movie. Like, let's just stop for a second and recognize that movie impacted me in ways that I could not have expected sitting down to watch it. Like, it is an anthem to the issues that we have in mental health in our country, and it was just really impactful. But there were a lot of safety issues with Joaquin Phoenix on that movie. If you don't know, things like making up fights and not warning actors, right? There's a fight combatant.
Do that?
You can't do that because it's not safe, but it was wrapped up in his method acting. This is what he needed in it. So, like, at what point is it not safe for you and everybody around you? Right. Jared Leto, mailing dead shit through the mail. And, making people uncomfortable, use condoms and stuff, like, what? So there's a point where you just are being extra. And it just feels like you're more attention-seeking than actually using it to try to tell the story that's needed to be told.
Yes.
And I very rarely in the tabletop community have I seen this, where somebody really takes their character too far, or we get really, really engrossed in something, and we can't bridge that line between character and us. Yes. And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
The bleed can be so dangerous, and so you have to learn to take care of yourself, Even I do a Vampire the Masquerade campaign every Saturday. Saturday, 4 hours of gaming, pre-show, after show, so it's a 5-hour every Saturday, come hell or high water. And that's over on the Roll For It network, and I love Vampire the Masquerade. But let's be real. it is not for the faint of heart.
No.
The game, as much as all of you at home want to be like, oh, well, we can be superhero vampires. That's not what the game's about. The book very clearly tells you this is a game about losing your humanity. This is a game about becoming a monster.
Yeah.
And so you, as a player, walk this line where you're doing and having to do horrible things.
Yeah.
And I have to have a literal, like, I do a meditation after my Saturday games, because when you're playing a Hound for the Prince that's torturing and killing people, she's a gangrel with a humanity 4, which means she no longer can understand love. She doesn't care for humans, right? They're just cattle and kind to her. So it's difficult because you pour your love of something into it, and you do want to be as honest as possible in a show that has such high quality role play, but in the end you cannot let that bleed come across to you, because it can affect your life. And if you don't believe it, look at how many actors have died from method acting.
Heath Ledger.
That's the exact one on the top of my head, right? And it's like, Heath Ledger he couldn't sleep, right? It wasn't purposeful, but we lost somebody amazing because of method acting. So at what point do we feel like method acting goes too far?
Yeah.
And what standard do we hold people to?
And that also goes into all of the, like, body transformation issues.
Yes.
Of, look at people like Christian Bale.
Yes. Who was eating a piece of fruit a day. To do The Machinist.
Yeah.
Right? A piece of fruit a day.
Is that the movie that he got super
oh, no, maybe it's not The Machinist. What was that?
No, what was it? Oh, man.
Oh my god, I'm not going to be able to remember.
But there was that one movie that he did that he was practically a skeleton.
Yeah, he was supposed to be, the script described the character as emaciated. Yeah. That was how the script described him. And he took it so far that he was down to eating a single piece of fruit a day. And the producers had to come to him and say, we're going to take this role from you if you don't start eating. Yeah. Like, or these actors that bulk up in like 6 months with excessive muscles and steroids and stuff. Also, not safe.
Yeah, I think it was The Machinist.
It was The Machinist. Okay, I did call it right. Okay, good. Yeah, that's in my head. Yeah, because he works in that, he's really thin and he works in that machine factory. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It is The Machinist.
Yeah. And hopefully with this day and age of CGI and stuff, we can relax a little bit on that kind of stuff. Because, people like Hugh Jackman and Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and all of that, where you're literally playing a superhero for a living, but you're held to these unrealistic standards. It takes a toll on you.
Yes, it does. Like, it takes a toll on your body to have to work out that much, especially...
And... they've said, like, when they're not filming, and even, like, they dehydrate themselves to be able to look like that on camera. And that's not safe.
No. And the way, some actors will gain and lose weight very rapidly, too. Bulk up and gain a bunch of muscle and then lose a bunch of weight on, like, a low-protein diet. And so those things take effect on your body. And for all of you at home that don't know, when you do that, it actually begins to wear on the internal aspects of your body, and you could die sooner. It literally starts taking years off of your life, just like, say, smoking or any other thing that is a negative effect on the body.
Yeah, and so for, like I understand why Hugh Jackman probably doesn't want to come back as Wolverine, because he's not a spring chicken anymore.
Right?
And
that man's like, I'm old. Can I play, like, a daddy character, please?
Right? And when he did The Greatest Showman, he was like, dancing, man. Yep. And then he went on tour for that did his show, and he was like, whew. And when you look at him, he is one of the fittest people you can think of, because he's Wolverine. Yeah. But he's aging. Mm-hmm. And he's beautiful.
And oh, yes. So there's no doubt that he's a beautiful older man.
Yes, and Australian. Yeah. Yeah. But no, like, he knows what his body can handle. And I give him props for being like, you know what?
I even look at somebody like, Daniel Craig's another example of somebody that's been pushed far too far. How many times has it been like, I'm not doing another Bond movie? And then they're like, but please, come do this Bond movie.
But you're so good at Bond.
And he is so good as Bond.
He is.
He really is. But he's also another one that's like, at what point am I too old to be playing Bond? My body can't go through this anymore. I mean, speaking of Batwoman, let's go back to the fact that Ruby, the actress Ruby Rose, took a massive spinal injury and almost died. Yeah. Okay? Here's somebody that's young and beautiful and that Dot has a massive crush on, and she...
I mean, let's be real, we all have a crush.
Holy cow, the things that I would do just to have her look at me. she's just amazing. But
you know,
she
Dustin worked on Crisis. Right?
Oh God, she's so beautiful, and just
and she's so good.
She's so good. She's just
so
perfect.
good.
She's just perfect. But that she was doing her own stunts, and even as somebody that was young, she did a stunt, and basically, I want to think she like slipped a disc or took a massive spinal injury, and basically almost died, like almost took final nerve damage to her spine, and so she had to have massive spinal surgery, and now she can't do any of her own stunts in Batwoman anymore. Which, this is why we have stunt people.
Yes.
And as somebody that looked into stunt work for a long time, that's another dangerous job, you know? But you're also trained for it, and there is a point where I think that we have to look at meta acting and say, or this method acting and say, when does it become a problem?
Yes. So on that subject, let's jump over to Tom Cruise, who does his own stunts.
Yes.
But will also crash course his way as hard as he can to do like fly a helicopter for his last Mission Impossible movie, and all of this fighter pilot stuff he's doing in Top Gun is actually him because they've released like a little mini documentary that they have 6 little, they're not IMAX cameras, but there's 6 cameras in the cockpit with
Tom Cruise
and all of the pilots, and they all know how to fly. It's not CGI flying.
Right.
It's not, they are in the cockpit because Tom Cruise was like, you can't fake that kind of pressure that comes from pulling those G's.
You can't.
And so when you watch the movie, and I'm super excited for it. I'm a pilot's kid, so I'm super excited for Top Gun.
I'll tell you a little fun story, after about Top Gun.
But who crash courses their way to learn to fly a fighter jet?
I mean, that was like, okay, that scene, was it the 4th Mission Impossible, the one where he's on the exterior of the building with the stickies?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he also did that stunt. That is my nightmare.
And the outside of, what was it, the C-130?
The C-130, stuck to it. It's just like, there are things, you know what, and
there are things that are just not worth it.
Yeah. Now, if you, as an actor, want to put yourself in danger, which is really what Tom Cruise is doing, you know what? I can't stop you. You rule your body and your own life. But when your method acting begins to put other people in danger, is when it's a problem.
And also when because you're there working.
Yes.
People have invested millions
of dollars
into your movie, and you're willing to put yourself on the outside of an airplane to do your own stunts.
Well, yeah.
When you are the face of this movie, and if you die, what's going to happen to this movie?
Yeah, well, and you think about it, like, it's not even just the money people put into it. Think about how many people's jobs would be on the line.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, how many people's job, like, if something happened to Tom Cruise, and God forbid, knock on wood, this is not the case, he dies on set or becomes so injured he can't work anymore, the movie flops, everything that's been invested, and all of those
the movie doesn't get finished. It doesn't just flop. It doesn't get
done,
like,
right?
people are out of jobs.
Out of jobs, they lose it, everything that's been invested. So it is almost a partially selfish want. In some way to be like, I want to learn to be a fighter pilot.
What are you searching for?
Yeah. What are you missing in your life?
Yes. To have to feel like you need to fill this need.
Yep. Do you know what's interesting? I'm watching this show right now. It's on Netflix. Gwyneth Paltrow has started a new show.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Did you see this?
I think it popped up on my Netflix the other day. I haven't looked into it, though.
Winona Ryder is also doing this, right?
Okay.
So each of them are in a little, like, here they are. Deeper into their lives, they both have incredible film and TV careers. And instead of, say, pushing yourself to learn to fly a fighter jet to fulfill whatever empty place there is in your soul, they're doing more healthy things. Like, so Winona Ryder's out there and she's traveling the world. It's kind of like a travel photo type blog. But Gwyneth Paltrow is doing some soul searching, and that's what this show is all about. She's looking for healthier ways to live, and she's trying psychedelics to open up the mind and the soul and these kinds of things. And it's interesting, but at the same time, she's not putting other people's jobs and other people's investments at risk. This is her thing. Like, if you want to go soul searching, go do it. But don't do it in a way where you affect others. Yeah. Especially in a negative way, or could affect others in a negative way. Yeah.
So stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah, stay safe. And the next time you're like, oh man, I really love that actor because they're a method actor, think twice. Think twice. Think twice about how that actor treats their method acting. Do they leave it on set as an on-set only thing, or are they taking it home with them? Because that's where it gets dangerous.
Like, like Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he's one of those, he is method, but he leaves it at work.
Yeah, at work. It's a thing that I own when I'm on set, when I'm at work.
Yes.
Shouldn't have to come home and bleed into your life, where you have to start taking sleeping pills. Or
or it affects your family.
Or your family, where you are disconnected in some way. Or, God forbid, you have to start taking fighter pilot lessons because you have to fly that plane yourself. Like, yeah. Okay, so speaking of, so I said I'd tell you my Top Gun story. This is really short. So, Top Gun is one of those movies that my father and I both love. It was kind of like our bonding movie.
Yes.
That is something my dad and I bonded over.
Yes.
He always wanted to be a fighter pilot, but he was in the Navy, not the Air Force, and so it was always our thing. And we used to. This is when you'd have to buy DVDs because you can't get everything online. We had our DVD, and it came with other languages. Ooh. And so we used to sit in my living room and we would watch Top Gun in French or another language, and then we would try to do the English.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun!
It was just this funny thing.
Because you know the movie so
well. Because we know the movie so well, we know the script. And it's also just very funny to watch somebody else, like, dub over in French.
Yeah.
Something like Top Gun, because it just is ridiculous. It takes everything and, like, amps the ridiculousness already of that movie up to, like, 11. So I highly suggest it if you have a Top Gun DVD at home, break it out, blow off the dust, and go watch it in French.
Yes. And do that and prep for Top Gun 2.
And prep for Top Gun 2.
Because, like, again, let's be real. I grew up, my dad's a pilot. My brother is now also a pilot. My dad was in the Air Force. He didn't fly fighter jets. He flew C-5s and stuff like that. But I grew up going to air shows. I grew up, like, my dad had a little Cessna growing up. Like, cool. Aviation runs so strong in my family. Yeah. And so there's also a part of me that there's something beautiful about watching, like fighter jets take off. Yes. And there's this whole, like, weird, nerdy, like, aspect of it where I was like, do I want to get into aviation photography just to be able to capture these really pretty moments that I just connect with?
Yeah.
And so that's one reason why I'm so excited for Top Gun 2, because you watch this kind of really cool stuff and it just gives you chills. It's just like, that's so cool.
Yep.
So in the moment in the trailer where they take off and they're just inches from that shack and just dust.
Yep, blows it.
And when he threw the two of them, because they're doing the dogfight thing, and he just right through the middle of them, and they're like, "Wah!"
Yeah. Yeah, so cool. My family was all submariners, so we're underwater, which in and itself is a whole separate level of terror and horror I couldn't possibly imagine.
Right?
I
didn't think I was scared of the ocean, but then when you really start thinking about it,
and like my dad was a nuclear engineer, so a lot of what he did on subs when we were growing up, he could not talk about. And now that he's out of those contracts and things like that, he's many 20 plus years retired from the military.
Yeah,
he can talk about it, and to hear stories of what it's like to be 8 months off the coast of, say, Turkey, with a bunch of warheads on the back end of your sub, and it's you and 30 guys, and you're just waiting. You can't talk, you can't make noise, you're just sitting there waiting on somebody to give you an order to potentially shoot off a nuclear warhead. Like, what? You know, I remember the first time my dad, he's a good man, and he always wanted me to, he was like, I always want you to able to take care of yourself. Yeah. Don't rely on another man.
Right.
Thus, here I am. And he said, so he always wanted to teach me to change my own tire and different things. And so
my dad is the same way.
I remember that when I turned 16, he took me out. He's like, you need to know how to change your tire. You need to know how to, put a jack under a car. And so we were doing it, and here I go. I'm like, I'm
shows me how to check
the oil. Check the oil, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pulling my first tire off, and I start going around counterclockwise. He goes, no. I remember my dad's, like, big hand, like, grabbing my shoulder. He goes, no. He says, he's like, you'll never want to do it that way, because he's like, you want to go across, the nuts across from each other. Yeah. And he's like, think about it like this. He's like, it causes pressure differently, like it pulls. If you go around like clockwise or counterclockwise, you're actually causing pressure at like odd ways. Yeah. So when you go across from each other, and he's like, and I know that because on a nuclear warhead, if you put the bolts in counterclockwise, it will cause it to explode. You have to put the bolts on across from one another to even out pressure, or you'll set off a nuclear warhead. And I had that moment of like, now, anytime I'm changing a tire, I'm like, we're going across from each other.
Don't want things to explode.
But to think that my father had had to live it with that level of like constant. Like
That's
something
terrifying.
as simple as putting a bolt, on a tire reminds me of a time where you have to where you're bolting the nuclear head onto the actual missile itself, and you have to do bolts across from each other or Chloe, yeah.
That's
Military.
terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I actually was joking the other day with a friend. I'm thinking about running a one-shot tabletop game that is a survival mission in a submarine.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine? Like, just a one-shot that's, like, high stakes.
Yeah.
You're in a nuclear, like, submarine, and, like, I haven't figured out what system I would want to use for it, but, it just,
that sounds like it could be super stressful, but also super fun.
Super fun, right? Like, that moment of, like, oh, cool, this is kind of like U571, or, like, another movie I grew up watching on repeat.
Did you watch that new movie that just came out, Underwater? Is it Underwater? With Kristen Stewart?
No.
Apparently it's really good, and
really?
It's very, like, the effects of being underwater for so long.
Really take a toll on they just take a toll on your mind and your body. And what did I watch last night? Right, what's in that water? Yeah, right. I watched that new movie on Netflix called Overlord.
Oh, I haven't watched that one yet.
J.J. Abrams film that's like World War II, like Cthulhu, like Lovecraftian horror.
Oh, I think we saw that on Netflix, and we're like, ooh, we need to watch this.
Do it.
They're all about the Cthulhu and
like,
the Lovecraftian and all
the
that.
Lovecraftian horror, and it definitely is not a proper Lovecraft. Like, there's no real nod to, like, Cthulhu or any of the elder gods, but there is this kind of undertone of horror and what the Nazis were doing to people in terms of experimentation and stuff, which is what it's about. So I'll tell you, it was much more gory than I expected. And this is I knew going in this was a war movie, but like, wow. It's definitely it's a hard look at like whether it's true or not, how Nazis were using people for experimentation. And like, by the end of the movie, I was like, I need something happy. I need a Disney movie. You know, but it was so good. The acting was phenomenal. I thought the film was just superb.
Okay, we'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, if you like war movies or historical films,
I love period pieces.
Great,
so much.
Then this will be right up your alley. It was really great. I thought it was just very well done. Yeah,
awesome. And they'll like it because it's got all
because of the horror.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And actually, I thought the prosthetics and stuff for without giving too much away, the creatures is what I'll call them. The people that were being experimented on were very well done.
Cool.
Yeah, so they'll definitely like that for sure.
Yeah. So we've
talked
covered
about
so much.
This kind of
we
stuff.
talked about Dad's Garage.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about your Twitch channel.
Yeah.
You do on other Twitch channels.
Mm-hmm.
You do Roll For It, which is, you said that was your vampire stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's the group out of the UK that I work for regularly. Most of the time it's VTM. I say that we've been playing a lot of World of Darkness. So we started out with Changeling, and then we, actually it's funny, we played a Changeling campaign where we were mortals, which is by far the scariest thing you're ever going to do in your life. Because as a mortal,
what do you do?
What do you do? You just exist and pray that a fae doesn't try to trade you for, your soul or something.
Okay.
And then we moved into VTM, so we completed when 5 first dropped, when V5 just came out. That was, 2 Gen Cons ago? We started a VTM campaign, played through a first season, which was like 30 or 32 episodes, and then we started a second season, now that there's like more content material, and of course they've announced that Werewolf will be the next.
Ooh,
they're
awesome.
they're going to be releasing Werewolf. So actually, Paradox, Paradox, because it's not White Wolf anymore. Paradox has out a survey right now. So for all of you that love the World of Darkness lore, or even don't know a lot about it but want to learn more, it's this really great survey that's just like talk to us about the content of World of Darkness, right? Because they're owning new things, and they're trying to answer for a lot of the problems that they've brought to the table with the World of Darkness series. In the past, racism, homophobia, the works, right? They want feedback, and they're like, "What are you interested in us relaunching? Are you more interested in video games? Are you more interested in tabletop? Where do these things lie? How much time do you spend with these things?" And so I took the other day, which I thought was really cool of Paradox, to like pause and say, before we keep releasing things, let's really see what our audience wants, right?
That's so nice when people who are making stuff for people take people's wants and considerations and suggestions
not creating in a box. They're really thinking about it. So I play a lot of VTM with Roll For It. I'm a regular cast member on the Unmade Gaming Network. That's another one. And then the rest of the time, I I don't really consider my channel a network proper, and that's what I tell a lot of people. I said I'm not in it to compete with Roll For It, or even I'm not trying to compete with, say, Geek and Sundry and these networks that are producing a lot of stuff. I'm just a person, and I want to tell the stories I want to tell, and I want to do it. And
that's what
people.
It should be about, because there's, especially in this community and like film and just everywhere, honestly, there's this level of competitiveness that other people put on you, that they're like, but this person is doing this.
Right.
So if you want to compete with them and actually have something successful, you should, like...
Yeah, this is how you're going to make the thing.
And it's like, that's not what it's about. How about, like, let people do what makes them happy and let them leave their own mark on and tell the stories that they want to tell. Like, there's no cookie cutter way to do it. Like,
and it's kind of the beautiful thing about it, you know?
Like, not all streaming D&D games have to be Critical Role.
Correct.
Like,
they shouldn't be.
You
can't compete. Okay,
that's oversaturation.
I tell people, you can't compete with Critical Role. Stop trying to compete with Critical Role. If you are trying, you're doing. In the entertainment industry, they're known as an anomaly.
Yes.
Okay? Critical Role is an anomaly, and if you're attempting to hold yourself to that standard, you're going to drive yourself crazy. You're gonna drive yourself crazy.
So enjoy Critical Role
for what it is,
and then use your platform to create something new that you love.
That's yours.
That maybe has some of those aspects, but also you pull aspects from other things.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with pulling from different sources and all of that, and saying, these people inspire me. Yep. These people inspire me.
Yep.
These people inspire me. And that's kind of what I did with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about Michael Rosenbaum's podcast.
Yep.
And I was like, I love how just chill he keeps it. He just talks to people.
Yeah. And they talk about life stuff.
They talk about mental health.
Mental
They
health.
talk about work. They talk about all this other stuff. I really encourage you to go check out his podcast because it's amazing.
So good.
But I also listened to Anna Faris's Unqualified.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of a more low-key, quote, quote, interview. And so, like, there's different things. I'm like, I just want to talk to people about how cool their lives are.
Yeah. And see, for me, I tell people, I was like, my channel is like not a network. My Discord's called the Dot Lot, which is where all dots hang out. But really my channel is a way for me to tell the stories and play the games I'm interested in. So let's be real, like. I got, within the first year and a half of streaming on Twitch, whether I was on somebody else or on I played so much D&D.
Yeah.
And I love Dungeons & Dragons. It's where I started. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons since 3.5. Went back, picked up Advanced D&D just to, like, say I did it. Yep. Played some 4, and then 5 launched. And I played D&D. It was the only tabletop I played 4 years. And then I started branching out. And I realized that why there are other tabletop games is because different systems, different stories, different settings don't always fit within 5e or within 3.5. Like, it's okay. And so I started playing, and now really the Dot Lot and my Twitch channel has become a place where I play test and I give love to games outside of Dungeons & Dragons.
Amazing. Because there's so much out there.
So much. Like right now, I remember at Gen Con this past year, I went up to Renegade Games, which Renegade usually produces board games. That's what they're pretty famous for. Yeah. But they've started producing some tabletop games, and they won an Innie this year for Kids on Bikes.
Kids on Bikes.
Family-friendly game.
Yes.
And so I went by to actually just say how much I loved the game, to pick up a copy, and I got to talking to the marketing person. She's like, oh, I know you, here, take home. She handed me, a bag. I was dragging this bag of books out, and so when I got back from Gen Con, I started reviewing them all, and I decided I'm playing Renegade games from now through June. Everything on my channel is Renegade. We're playing Teams in Space. I'm coming up on the North Sea Epilogues, which is going to be an all-female Vikings game.
Yes! Ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Right, a lot of fun. They've got this really beautiful kind of psychedelic fantasy game called Overlight, which I'm going to be playing through. They've got Outbreak Undead if you want like a proper zombie survival tabletop.
All right.
Wowzer. So they've got like all of these products right now, and I was just like, I didn't know half of these existed. You just gave me free books.
Yeah.
And I want to try all of them. I want to try all of these. So I really use my channel as a place for testing. Yeah. I'm getting ready to launch a Sunday series. I do my once a month community games, which are called Sunday Fun Day. Yeah. I drink mimosas from a jug. I have a moonshine jug that I mix mimosas in, and I get really drunk.
Oh my god, I love mimosas so much. They're my favorite alcoholic drink.
Me too. So I kind of drink mimosas. People sign up. It's open community gaming. We just play some games once a month. But I've been getting a lot of requests for people to either they want to pitch their ideas or they want me to review their games and get some feedback, which was really interesting. And I said, well, I have some resources now. I have a very supportive Patreon community, most of which are from the Dot Lot. And I, for the first time this past year, started paying my players. So anybody that is on my show gets paid.
Amazing.
It's not always a lot, but it's something that I'm passionate about. And actually, in the end, some people choose not to take the funds. I let them choose where they go. Do you want to give it back over to Extra Life? Do you want to give it to another player?
Yeah.
Do you want it to go back into the Dot Lot? So they actually fill out a form and tell me where they want the funds to go. But I said, I've got some resources, and there are a lot of people that don't have their own Twitch channels, aren't finding opportunities, so I'm launching an incubation series.
Ooh.
So I provide you with 4 weeks and 4 players.
Cool.
And you pitch your idea, I select a couple, and then basically run Sundays. And
that's really cool.
I do the overlays, I do your tech. This is not anything you as a GM have to worry about. So I manage all of that, and then you just get a chance to try DMing or really hone your skills.
I love creatives supporting creators.
It has to happen.
I love it.
Because nobody else is going to support us.
No. And that's what this community is about,
Yeah.
is, like, let's just all geek out over the stuff we love and support each other. It's not hard. We're not in a competition to see. There is no who the best GM is. There is no who has the best D&D game. Just do what you love and enjoy it. And share it with your friends and support people.
Yeah, support them. Because the thing is like when you support them, when you help them realize a dream, they're going to do the same thing for you.
Yeah,
and that's really what happened when I started, because I was on a lot of other people's channels.
Yeah.
And then I pulled back and I said, well, I could launch some fun stories that I want to tell on my channel. And when I started pitching those ideas, there were so many supportive people from the community that helped me, that gave me a couple minutes of their time to ask a question, or said, let me actually be on your very first Sunday Fun Day. And that in and itself was the support that I needed to recognize, one, this was my community.
Yep.
And 2, that this was something that now I can also do. That like, give and take of how the creative world functions.
Honestly, when you help other people achieve what they want to, there's a really great feeling that goes with that, of being able to be like, I have reached a point where I can help others do the same thing.
And that's exactly what happened.
There's nothing wrong with that. And more people need to do it.
Yeah, it's just, and like I said, it was something that I now am in a place to do. I tell people, they're always like, you always run these short campaigns. And I'm like, yeah, because nobody has the time to run a 48 session campaign. Yeah. I do 5 to 6 weeks on average. They're mini campaigns, but it's just enough to get the flavor, the taste, to keep an audience hooked, because let's be real, if everybody's going over on Thursday night Source Critical Role, and they've got, 400 episodes or some crazy number like that, they're not going to have time to watch me produce 400 episodes. So let's keep the story short, sweet, easy to digest. Let's make it something
and if
that
they want to go back, then there's not this huge backlog of stuff, and you feel overwhelmed. Like, I'm never going to get through this.
I get messages all the time. It's like, thank you so much, actually, for keeping short, because I listened to X, Y, and Z show in a weekend. Yeah. And you're like, great. I hooked up. Yep. It's so simple. So sometimes I run longer campaigns, like Overlight, the psychedelic fantasy is going, they call it a kaleidoscopic world. Everything's based on color and light.
Ooh.
All magic's based on something called chroma.
That's cool.
Literally, it's one of the, if you shop for tabletops, like in person, you just sometimes you pick up a book and you're like, wow. Yeah, wow. Like, jaw drop, like, you just are flipping through it, and you're like, I have to read all of this cover to cover, I have to know what's in it, and I just want to be in this world. And that, the first time I picked up Overlight, I was like, like, it's so bright, there's so much colors, and, like, the way they talk about, like, it's heavily influenced.
And as an artist, your heart must be a little...
my heart was just like, and the very front page talks about the influence of, like, 70s psychedelic art, which all of you, for all of you that don't know me, is, like, my complete vibe. Here I am in, like, every color imaginable during this podcast. So like I was just really connected to it. Really connected to it. So don't let anybody tell you can't. And don't be discouraged when, say, you start out, and I tell you this all the time, and you only got a couple viewers, or it doesn't land the way you want it to. Trust me, I had some super flops.
It's not about the viewers.
It's not.
It's not. It's if you want to tell a story,
Just tell it.
just tell it.
Just go tell it. And really question, like, is Twitch the place I need to do it? And I ask people that too when they're like, oh, I think I'm gonna launch a Twitch channel. My first question is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to launch a Twitch channel?
Yep.
The reason I launched my Twitch channel is, one, because it allowed me to have access to a lot of other people.
Yes.
I wasn't just playing with local people anymore.
Right.
I have people all over the world that I play with.
Yeah.
And the other reason is because I thrive with an audience.
Yeah.
I actually thrive off the idiots of a live, right? I'm a theater kid.
You're a theater kid.
I'm a theater kid.
There's something magical about a live audience.
There is. At least for me and the way that I work. It just really inspires me. It drives me. That's not the case for everyone. And, you have to realize that if you're not going to be a critical role, you're probably never going to make your full, all the money in the world off of this thing. And more importantly, if you just want to play, who says you need to have a camera? You don't have to do it live. There are access to things like Roll20, online meetups, and Reddit where you can meet people and still play your games the way and tell the stories that you want without having to stream it live. So, Twitch is not the be-all, end-all.
Yep.
It's really not. And even as I've do more and more Twitch streaming, I also have learned to begin scheduling myself for more and more off-camera time to play games. And that's really refreshing, too. Like, I now have a home game that there are no mics, there are no cameras.
You can just play.
And we just play. And even, I have a Patreon tier that's like, I run a game for you and your friends in private. We use Discord. It's just voice. We don't stream it to anybody. It's ours to own, and there is something about that. So, I actually have learned that I need a little mix of both. I can't rely on just one and the other. So, yeah, it's been a heck of a journey over 3 years, but for the first time...
Only 3 years?
I've been doing it 3 years. Yeah, I've been doing it 3 years. So it's kind of crazy, and a bit humbling actually to have so many people just talk about what it means to watch a show that I've been a part of, or to say that the Dot Lot, just as a community itself and a Discord, has been a helpful place for them, like a welcoming place, which is really all I ever want. I wanted to
creating something and helping create something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, bigger than myself. It's just, like I said, it's just a really humbling experience. So for those of you that consider yourself part of the Dot Lot, know that I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And for those of you that have never heard of me or don't have any clue what I'm talking about, know that you're welcome.
Come join the Dot Lot.
Come join the Dot Lot.
Where can we find you in the Dot Lot?
Good question. You can find me all over the internet as Little Red Dot. Twitter. Twitch.
Is it Ko-fi or coffee?
I call it Ko-fi, but what do I know?
What do I know?
I do have a Ko-fi. There's a Patreon you can find me at. Twitter and Instagram are usually the best. Know that my Instagram's a little funky because I have to have 2 T's at the end of dot, only because I didn't realize this till afterwards. Little Red Dot is actually a slang term for Shanghai.
Oh.
So Shanghai, the city, actually has ownership or rights to a lot of the Little Red Dot stuff, and it
interesting.
Yeah, I know. These are things I didn't know before I took that name on. But just know my Instagram has 2 T's. But yeah, you can find me there. The North by Northwest podcast. I'm a regular, obviously on. Helped start that here locally, and you can find me every Saturday on the Roll For It Network and every Thursday on the Unmade Gaming Network.
And your own Twitch channel.
And then my own Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/little_red_dot.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming and being on my podcast.
This is like the perfect Sunday brunch chat.
Yes. I wish we also had mimosas in addition to our coffee.
I know.
I didn't think about
We
that.
could go find some.
Let's go find some right now. So we're gonna sign off and we're gonna go hunt down mimosas. It's Sunday at noon. And
in Georgia, which now we can drink. So
yes,
which is a thing.
it's mimosa time. We're gonna sign off, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.